Hi there, and welcome to The Daily Gardener, an almanac of garden history, literature, and small botanical joys. I'm Jennifer Ebling, and today is February 12th. February can feel like a month made of drafts. Nothing finished, nothing resolved. And that's not a flaw. It can be a good thing. Because gardeners are always iterating, one growing season after the next. It's a cycle that often looks like this: an attempt, an unexpected result, followed by the quiet correction. Gardens are revised in public, and so are we. Today's stories are about that kind of forward progress. Here's today's garden history. It was on this day in 1724 that William Mason was born, the poet, the clergyman, and the garden designer who helped the English garden feel like a place with a point of view. William had a gift for giving gardeners a new metaphor. To him, gardens were a canvas, and the gardener was the artist. In his long poem, The English Garden, he urges us to design a landscape the way an artist would. He wrote, "Take thy plastic spade. It is thy pencil. Take thy seeds, thy plants. They are thy colors." It's a memorable way to think about design. And William Mason truly turned a corner as a landscape artist in 1775. At Newnham Courtney, near Oxford, William designed a flower garden for George Harcourt, and his ideas spread across the gardens of England. Straight lines began to loosen. Beds stopped behaving like borders on paper. Instead of keeping everything obediently close to the house, planting began to flow outward toward a walk, a seat, a temple, an orangery, a pause. Mason's gardens required people to move through them. His landscapes cried out for a little wandering. But they weren't wild, as in careless. They were wild, as in natural. When Mason said, "Compose your gardens," he didn't mean do less. He meant choose deliberately. He wanted the garden to be arranged, but arranged in a way that felt organic rather than imposed. And maybe that's why his advice still holds. Gardeners still shape experience. They choreograph a view, they imitate nature, and they decide what is revealed and what is withheld until the next few steps. And it was on this day in 1900 that Emily Lawless wrote a diary entry that feels a little familiar because it's about what happens when the world is in chaos and someone insists on talking only about flowers. Lawless was on a train near Guildford, England, when she ran into a fellow gardener, the sort of person she usually enjoyed sparring with. But this time, when they started talking, he made a disparaging comment about the British soldiers, the Tommies, after defeats in the Boer War. Emily bristled, not because she was naive. She admitted the home front was rattled, but to refer to their own fighting men like that, she found it insulting and unpatriotic. And then, in the middle of that tension, the man brightens and changes the subject, asking, "Is anemone blonda in flower in your garden right now?" Emily captured the moment perfectly in her journal. Emily wrote this: "Anemone blonda," I repeated, feeling slightly confused by the rapidity of the transition. The man answered, "I have 16 tufts in full flower, beauties. Yours were the pale blue ones, weren't they? Mine are as blue as blue paint." "We have a number of bulbs at present in flower," I said severely. "Scillas and Chinodoxas and daffodils and tulips and iris alata and many others." "Ah, potted bulbs," he replied. "They're poor sorts of things generally, don't you think?" We have cyclamen cum in flower out of doors, I added, ill humor arising in me, a sudden spirit of violent horticultural vanity. We grow it out in the copse, on the stones, in all directions. It is a perfect weed with us. Our roads just then diverged. My horticultural acquaintance getting out at the next station, and I continuing on my way to Guilford. I don't think I could have ever in my life felt more ruffled. I adore my garden and yield to no one, in my estimation, of its supreme importance as a topic. Still, there are moments when even horticulture must learn to bow its head. In today's Unearthed Words, we hear from a letter written by architect Frank Lloyd Wright to landscape architect Jensen. It was on this day in 1943 that Jens had written Frank to say that the two men would never agree. Frank's reply is stunning. Dear Jens, you dear old prima donna, I don't know whether you exaggerate your own sense of yourself or exaggerate my sense of myself. It doesn't much matter either way. But that wouldn't prevent me from helping you to get a job you wanted to do. You are a realistic landscapist. I am an abstractionist, seeking the pattern behind the realism. In other words, I'm a builder. You are an effectivist, using nature's objects to make your effects. The matter is unimportant, except that I should think a man like you, who has lived as long as you have, would be curious to see what the other fellow's viewpoint could reach. I find that I can be interested in that with which I supremely disagree, and I continually learn from my opposites. Of course, Jens couldn't resist replying to Frank later in March. Dear Frank, I did not think I could ever get you to write me a letter, but here it is. Thanks for the compliments. You are still the same Frank, although I fear a little less poetic. It's time to grow that garden library with today's book, The Beauty of the Flower, The Art and Science of Botanical Illustration by Stephen A. Harris, published in 2023. This week is Garden Intellectuals Week on the Daily Gardener, and all of the week's book recommendations are by people who think about gardens deeply. This book traces how humans learned to see plants well, not just admire them. It treats botanical illustration not as decoration, but as a working language shared by artists, printers, and scientists. Because botanical art wasn't created to decorate a wall. It was created to carry information. What mattered enough to show, what could be simplified, what had to be exact, and what had to be repeated until another mind could recognize the plant too. It's the kind of book that makes a gardener pause over a single page and think, oh, that's why illustration still matters. Not because photographs don't exist, but because drawing forces examination. And finally, here's something sweet to ignite the little botanic spark in your heart. It was on this day, 2024, that BBC Gardener's World Magazine promoted their Grow Something Different campaign. It was a simple nudge: break a habit, try something new, keep learning. What's something new for the garden this season? A plant you've never grown, a method you've never tried, a small experiment that keeps the mind awake. Gardens stay alive that way. As we close today's show, I'll leave one thought to carry forward. A garden isn't built by certainty. It's built by revision, the way drafts are built. By noticing what didn't work and trying again. Change-ups, redos, a spade as a pencil, a flower bed as a sentence. A season as a quiet mantra that keeps teaching us to keep going and keep growing. Thanks for listening to The Daily Gardener, and remember, for a happy, healthy life, garden every day.